Hello and welcome to Solent Sports News. I'm Mickey Risati and this is your 3:30 Bulletin. We start with rugby, and the RFU have announced that their ambitions to host the 2025 Women's World Cup. The governing body are ready to rival France's bid, claiming that it will be the best attended event in women's rugby history. Organizers are confident that they can hold a strong global TV audience that will bring much needed exposure to the women's game. In football, the trial over the death of Emiliano Sala has continued this week. Sala and pilot David Ibbotson both died when their aircraft crashed into the English Channel back in January 2019. David Henderson, 67, is on trial at Cardiff Crown Court, accused of endangering the safety of an aircraft but denies the charge. Belgian prosecutors have confirmed a 63-year-old Man City fan is in a coma, but his condition is now stable. 5 men have been arrested after the attack took place at a service station on the E40 motorway in Drongen following the city's 5-1 win over Club Brugge on Tuesday. Both clubs have come out and publicly condemned the incident. Meanwhile, in cricket, Hampshire fast bowler Brad Wheel has signed a contract extension until the end of 2023 this week. Wheel joined the Hawks in 2015 and was instrumental in their 2021 Vitality Blast campaign, picking up 17 wickets in a run that saw his side reach the finals day. It's also an important day in the T20 World Cup with more good news for Ben Wheel. Yesterday, his Scotland side eased through the Super 12s, beating host Oman by 8 wickets after bowling them all out for 122 in Muscat. However, Ireland have had a disastrous campaign. They slipped to defeat against Sri Lanka on Wednesday to set up a winner-takes-all clash today against Namibia, which they've lost by 6 wickets, meaning they exit the contest in the group stage. There's more bad news in tennis. Former world number 1 Andy Murray blamed a poor mentality for his second-round exit in the European Open. Argentine Diego Schwartzman came back to win after being down 4-1 in the first set before narrowly winning the second on a tie break. Murray now looks forward to the Erst Open in Vienna next week. In local sports news, Stoneham Golf Club will play host to Golf England's Southern boys section later this month. The governing body for the amateur game will have the course for training on Monday, 25th of October, as they make use of the new Tottenham Academy facilities. Going into racing, F1 heads stateside this weekend with championship leader Max Verstappen leading Lewis Hamilton by just 6 points after 16 rounds. That battle took another twist this week when the Dutchman stole the Brit's crown to become F1's most popular driver in a recent fan survey. Speaking ahead of the US Grand Prix, Verstappen said he's not worried about a potential Mercedes advantage this weekend.
I mean, I'm not concerned because there's nothing you can do about it, but we just have to focus on our side. I think a few things we can do better, and we learned again a lot also in Turkey, we try to do better with our package, what we have, try to find a bit more performance.
In basketball, the NBA have announced their official top 75 players of all time. Our basketball correspondent Josh Musoki joins me now. So Josh, what can you tell me about this?
Yeah, they're celebrating their 75th year anniversary in the NBA, and this is much in line with what they did for the 50th. So they're announcing and honoring 75 of their top NBA players of all time.
Are there any familiar faces that we should see there?
Yeah, you've got a lot of NBA greats, the likes of Michael Jordan, the late great Kobe Bryant, and current players like LeBron James, Russell Westbrook.
Yeah. And have there been any upsets or any disappointment of names that we didn't see there?
Yeah, of course, just the nature of any list, is subjective, and with, the players that are being honored, there will be a lot of exclusions. So, you've got players like Klay Thompson who are speaking out, about being snubbed, and, they're trying to use it as fuel to the fire, as they're still in the league, to perform, this year and beyond.
Perfect. Thank you, Josh. Now, last weekend we saw a medical emergency in the stands at St. James Park, bringing back echoes of Christian Eriksen's tragic incident at the Euros this summer. Thankfully, the Newcastle fan is now in a stable condition, but the incident has sparked talk about defibrillators and CPR training being made available at grassroots level. Harry Clark has more on the matter.
After the coronavirus pandemic, the nation's physical health has never been more prevalent. Christian Eriksen's collapse and last weekend's medical incident at St James's Park has shifted the focus to the threat of cardiac arrest. We spoke to Salford manager Sam Jones, who in 2010 witnessed one of his teammates collapse during a training session, and despite efforts from himself and others, they couldn't save him.
So in 2010, Jack Bolton died from a cardiac arrest whilst training for Salford Football Club. He was playing for Salford Reserves due to play for the first team that season. One night late in August, we're all training, doing an end of session game. All of a sudden, Jack just drops to the floor. From how he dropped, everyone knew straight away that something was seriously wrong. The first team manager at the time was the first to get to Jack and started doing CPR immediately. Someone rang the ambulance and was talking to him through it whilst they sent people out to us. They obviously arrived, started doing CPR, called for an ambulance van to take Jack to the hospital. Fortunately, Jack passed away at the age of 17. We immediately started doing fundraising for the Cry charity. From this fundraising, we were able to screen test over 400 people later that year. Since the fundraising started, we've been able to place defibrillators around the village of Salford, which in emergency could hopefully save another young person's life.
Plenty of work is being done up and down the country to prevent this happening again. At Hengrove Athletic, the Premier League have intervened to help non-league clubs. Secretary Martin McConaughey tells us more.
We've probably got 5 or 6 people at the club who are first aid trained to a level where that would be sufficient for them to get a coaching badge even. I've had the training, and I think 4 or 5 others have as well. So there's enough of us there to spring into action should the worst happen. After the Christian Eriksen thing, the Premier League introduced a fund that clubs at our level could get a defibrillator, and we applied for one in the middle of July, and we got ours at the beginning of September. Most clubs had one. What state they were in, I don't know, because they do need fairly regular maintenance. Obviously, the batteries, they're a battery operated thing, so you have to watch for battery wear, and they should be not serviced regularly, but they should be maintained regularly. Ours was fine. We did recondition it though, so that we've got 2 now, and the second one will be a public use one, which will be up on the wall outside the club.
Defibrillators are now more accessible than ever and more important than ever. Harry Clark, Solent Sports News.
Turning our attention back to Saints, who have averaged the worst attendance percentage in the Premier League this season. Ahead of their home clash with Burnley tomorrow, we sent Angus Sinclair to delve deeper into the problem.
Thank you very much, Mickey. Well, we're here at St Mary's today to gain an insight into just why the home support has been lacking here in Southampton. With the brunt of the coronavirus pandemic behind us, fans have been returning to stadiums with no restrictions. So just why have Southampton been failing to sell their seats? With statistics showing that the South Coast club are ranked lowest in attendance figures this season. Here's Harry Smith with more.
Over the last 18 months, we have gained an unwilling insight into what football would be like without fans. Yet with the full return of supporters this season, grounds have been filled with the voices of faithful followers once again. Yet here at St Mary's, the attendance levels have not been parallel with their Premier League peers. Southampton have been back in the top flight since the beginning of the 2012-13 season. Yet since then, they have struggled to maintain high levels of attendance for each game. This season, they have had an average percentage of 86.46%, the lowest out of any team in the Premier League. We went to ask some Saints fans on what they think of the lack of attendance and some reasons to why it could be so low.
A bit shocking because obviously a Premier League club, you expect more people to jump on the bandwagon and want to go and see obviously the bigger teams and bigger players play. You understand in the lower leagues, but you thought being in the Premier League that they'd be able to attract these crowds, but obviously not.
The drab playing on the pitch, the inability to put the ball in the net, which is one of Laurie Menery's older sort of bugbears. Ball, net, ball in net. That's about 1974 he said that. And I suspect that probably got a lot to do with it.
Never that big of a club in Premier League like Arsenal, United and those.
We also spoke to Glenn Delacour from the Total Saints podcast to get his views on what he thinks the reasons are behind the drop of attendance.
The number one reason I would say is pricing. Things are not easy for a lot of people at the moment, and I think prices have sort of steadily risen. The club occasionally puts out things to say, we've got season tickets for $299 or $399 or whatever it is, as a headline, but that's like a very small section of the ground, and you've got to satisfy a certain number of conditions and things like that. So there may be an issue with, the image that the club has got at the moment is one that's treading water a little bit, not really going anywhere. We've just got into this mode now of hanging on. And those of us old enough to remember what it was like in the early 2000s, we've kind of been here before, and it only takes one sort of real bad season to get relegated. So I think that may be putting people off. It's like, as a Saints fan, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's boring. But we're all beaten down and we turn up anyway. But I can see why youngsters not been particularly engaged, certainly from about 2016 to 2019. It's been better under the current manager, but of course we had the pandemic in the middle of it, which has probably meant I would imagine there's been a drop off in younger fans, sort of like signing up for the roller coaster that is Southampton Football Club at home.
Another question is, do you think that any of this could be to do with unrest surrounding the ownership of the club?
I don't think so. I don't think there's sort of unrest. You don't see any demonstrations or anything like that. Guys, to be honest, you'd be shouting at a guy in China who's not listening. He ain't gonna hear you.
Southampton will face Burnley on Saturday as they look to build on last week's victory against Leeds United, and we are sure that Hassan Hüttl's men would love to see St Mary's full and rocking for the tough test.
And finally, keeping it local, the City Council are set to meet to discuss the future of Southampton Sports Centre. The site is the city's leading sports venue, but it is often empty and looking abandoned. Ryan Honey has gone to explore the story a little more.
So I'm standing in a derelict swimming pool at the Southampton Sports Centre. This place opened in 1938, but now no one's here. And plans are being put forward in the coming days for renovations to try and grab more people into the sports centre.
Southampton's centrepiece for sports boasts an athletics track, outdoor ski slope, 6 tennis courts, a dirt track, multiple football pitches and even a fair. However, developments to the sporting sites have not been carried out since the turn of the millennium. In a matter of days, though, the City Council will convene to put forth plans to refurbish the surrounding area. Prospective ideas include a new artificial football pitch, a gym, cafe and changing room facilities.
It probably hasn't been refurbed since I was little, and it's got the same attractions, but that was always really busy at weekends.
But there remains doubt as to whether the money that would go towards the rejuvenations would be best served going elsewhere. Lucy Carper, a former athlete on the Gifted and Talented programme at the Sports Centre in the 1980s, admits the area needs work.
I took the dog for a walk about a month ago up there, and it was absolutely dead. I probably saw about 3 people. And it's such a shame because it's such a big area.
The council were unable to provide a statement to Solent Sports News on the matter, but with talks set to take place on October the 31st, the future of this 83-year-old sports facility nestled in the city of Southampton remains unclear. I'm Ryan Honey for Solent Sports News.
That's it for today. You can keep up to date on our website solentjournalism.co.uk.